Google spends $32 billion. Why? Let's get to it.
It's not paying me, that's for sure.
It's not paying me either. You know what? It has something to do with security, and I'm gonna admit I don't know as much about it as well. Probably you would understand this better than I would. So I actually have to look at my phone, and it gets illuminating. Ooh, okay. I'm gonna read this from CNN Business for just a bit here. Google announced a deal Tuesday to buy rapidly growing cybersecurity firm Wiz for $32 billion. It would be the tech giant's biggest ever acquisition. Now, I'm not going to lie to you. I don't understand at all why. Of course, this doesn't actually explain why they did. There may be some articles that are being, put out as we speak or throughout the day with their ideas of why, but there may have something to do with trying to keep up with Microsoft and Amazon and uh, cloud computing, I guess.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I saw this earlier today. I didn't have a chance to really dig into it. I can only imagine, though, that it definitely has something to do with them having greater security within their AI environment, I would imagine.
I would hope so, actually, to be honest with you. But I think because I saw the words security and cloud computing sparsely, and mostly people are making assumptions, to be honest, at the moment, is that it's more in depth than just the AI. So they want to be. Oh, go ahead.
No, I'm found Google's article where they talk about it, and it says Wiz is different from other services we offer. It delivers a seamless cloud security platform that connects to all major clouds and code environments to help prevent incidents from happening in the first place. So it's again, I was kind of on the money there, in the right direction anyways, about it being really AI focused, because it's all cloud based and environment based, but it's more trying to prevent. So it's being proactive than reactive, I suppose, is what I kind of gather from that.
You know what? I certainly don't disagree with it. I mean, like, a $32 billion, and you wonder, okay, if they're screwing something up, are they going to have to sell it off for a loss or something? But this actually makes a lot of sense, because the more they are into AI, the more cloud computing there's going to be. So this is protecting them and the consumer.
Cybersecurity professionals, it uses AI agents.
Oh, no.
As cybersecurity agents to act as an extension of security teams. So it's got a little AI robot on watch 24/7.
Wait a minute, where did I put it? Oh, it's falling down. Oh, it's right there. Okay, hang on one second. Yeah, Sarah Connor, we're going to need your help again. We're going to be doing this every week. Okay, so there's a little bit of information about that. So let's just talk about our thoughts about it. We know now what they said. Here's what I think. So far, I'm hearing something good can come out of this. It's supposed to be. But are there going to be issues in there? I mean, because it seems like when you have that much control over this stuff, then if there is a breach, will it be even bigger than it would be? Or is this tech that they purchased actually have a lot of fire doors, if you will? Because if that's the case, then bravo for making the purchase.
I would think so. I mean, I would think that they're trying to make sure they shore up all their points of entry, which are numerous, obviously.
Well, I'm not even talking just points of entry. I mean, that's the easy part. I mean, when people break into cyber speaking, of course, major, data centers and steal our information, they generally just need to get in, and back door, front door makes no difference. They're in. But what I'm thinking is when it comes to Google, Amazon, Microsoft, and any other major tech company, if there are, and I don't know if there's a proper term for it, but I'm calling them fire doors between all the different areas and segments, then if they get my information, doesn't mean they're going to get yours. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's very much segmented, and they spread data out amongst multiple servers in multiple data centers. So they definitely try to prioritize certain aspects of security. Like, for example, social security numbers would be much harder to gain access to, and the encryption is going to be much harder to crack than, let's just say, your username or something, right?
1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So, and the push for passkeys and all that I think is fantastic too. I use passkeys now as much as I can.
100%.
And it's, I authenticate with my device, like at work, one of our applications that we use to manage our clients. I just recently, they enabled passkey. So now when I go to log in, I click S25, it prompts me my phone. I say yes, I use my fingerprint, boom, it logs me in. I love it. It's fantastic. So that's a huge
slight segue for just a moment. I've been noticing a few sites that are actually getting around this now, where they're asking, you can either sign up for a membership or whatever for whatever services that site offers, or use your Facebook or Google or whatever account. And I tend to use the Google account all the time because, for starters, I can revoke that permission at the drop of a hat right from my phone, no problem.
Right.
But I've run into 2 in 2 days, completely unrelated sites on the internet, that when I did the thing for Google and did Google's little sign thing, it came up with a page saying, okay, well, now you can put your email in. I'm like, no, why would I do that? Why do you need me to sign in with Google, but then I now have to sign into Google on a non-Google page? That doesn't make any sense to me. Yeah. No. And these are reputable places. What they're doing is they're selling, and sometimes giving away free, plugins for digital audio workstations and stuff like that. And these are plugins I'd like to have, but I'm not gonna risk my thing.
I have had some sites when I use Google that will ask me to also, in addition, to create a password, but not to provide any additional information, because when you say use my Google account, they already have your email address.
Yeah, and if they want their own password attached to it for their own benefit, I understand that, right? If they want me, if they offer me passkeys to do it, absolutely. But when you say, no, I need you to put your email in, I'm saying, what are you talking about? Using Google, you don't need my email. If you want to send me something, then you put a checkbox saying, if you want material sent to you, we need your email.
Yeah.
But it should be not mandatory. So of course I didn't get anything either free or paid from them. I just left.
Yeah.
And I revoked the permission that I gave Google, or through Google.
Yeah.
Pretty much immediately. So
well, security is it's constantly evolving. And again, some of these things that, like the passkey situation, I think are huge, because even two-factor now, there's ways, and we actually had a client that 2 of their employees were caught by it. We couldn't figure out how this person gained access to their email, because they're like, wait a minute, did their two-factor get turned off? Because the entire company uses two-factor. And there's literally a way they have of doing it to where there's literally either a bot or an actual human sitting on the other side. So when the code comes up and you go to type it in, it captures that cookie, and the threat actor grabs that two-factor because it's only good for a very short period of time.
Right.
And they log in right like as soon as you log in. So you're legitimately logging in, but they're capturing your two-factor code and logging into your account where it doesn't prompt you again.
Well, that's not good.
No, it was a little, we're like, oh, wow. Okay. So, interesting. But again, it still comes down to, like, don't click the link when it comes from, like, if you didn't order a FedEx package and they're asking you to log into your FedEx account, don't log into your FedEx account. You're not expecting a package, right? So it's still common sense sometimes is,
well, the Canadian government and the individual provinces, they've taken to, like, when I need to get into the site, for tax purposes or whatever other benefits or anything like that, they have what we use here is authentication through your bank, because the bank has all of that, like the two-factor fingerprint, whatever it is that particular bank is using, everything. So you're authorizing on your phone. So they set it up several years ago now. So when you go to log in, you either have the really long drawn out way that you would have done it years ago, where it takes months just to get them to mail you a special code that anyone could steal.
Yeah.
But now instead, you just hit login with financial institutions. So you hit your bank, fingerprint, thumbprint, whatever, Face ID, whatever it is.
Yeah.
And then you have to actually select that you want to be either emailed or texted with a one-time code from the government. So, and it has to be, of course, the number that they have on file. If you change that number, you have to actually phone them, give them every piece of information they ask for, and then they will reset it for you.
Yeah.
And, put the new phone number in, that kind of thing. So anyways, they send you that code, and then, of course, you can copy and paste that in, and then you're in the site, blah, blah, blah. But what I think is, while it's cool, there is a weak link. Once they send that code, it's no longer secure. It's completely insecure, in fact, because it's actually only sent SMS, which is hello. Passkeys.
Yeah. You can't capture your thumbprint on my phone.
Passkeys. That's what they need to do. Because first of all, if you have a passkey, it doesn't matter what device you're on. It still has to be authenticated by this exact device. And if I can't do it with this one, then I have to go back into Google and authorize it from somewhere else. And either way, it's going to end up being a fingerprint or a face or both. Plus,
like my primary Google account, I actually had to add a passkey for my tower and a passkey for my laptop. And of course, my phone's already a passkey. So when I would log in, I would have to choose whether it was tower or laptop. I had to name it different so I knew which one was which, because I couldn't log in with the other one. Like, so if I click laptop and I was on my desktop, it's not going to work, so, which is good. That's the point of it,
But I see, the thing is, I've never done that, and I probably should, because if something happens to my phone, I have to jump through hoops to get whatever it is I need. So I should set it up so that the computer has access. Can be the backup for passkeys. I do have some passkeys on it, but those are the few passkeys that Windows immediately said, "You want to create a passkey?" And I'm like, "Yeah, sure, why not? I already have one on my phone."
Yeah.
But for the most part, I'd like to set it up so that there was more than the one.
Yeah. But, well, it's good to see that they're continuing to work on the security side of things, and
it's $32 billion. It better be something.
It's a cat and mouse game. So,
well, let's stick with Google as we segue a little bit here. Android 16 will be introducing Vulcan as the new default graphics API for Android. And when I read that, I don't game on my phone, but here's something that people need to understand. You don't necessarily have to be gaming on the phone for that to be important news, because if you own an iPhone for years, you've known that, your phone has been one of the best at playing games. If you've had a flagship Samsung phone, you've known for years that it's been one of the best at playing games. Some of the Chinese brands, they're high-end ones, the ROG phone, of course, is an obvious,
Yeah.
gaming phone. That's what it is, a gaming phone. But Google has always been known for, yeah, I can play games on it. There's a big difference. So
Yeah.
it may not hit the huge big market, but when Vulcan does a more efficient job than OpenGL, it's using less resources. So even if you're only doing something minor on your phone that needs to use that graphics engine, it's going to not only save battery, it's going to heat up the phone less. It's going to feel more responsive, more efficient, be more fun if you are playing games, and just last longer if you're only barely doing it, or even if you were doing it a lot. So
Right.
it's a huge deal. So it's going to be the main default rather than OpenGL or Vulcan. And those who chose Vulcan clearly have a better, more efficient phone. I'm guessing that the S25 Ultra is already on Vulcan. So I don't know that information right now, but I
I
would
have
bet it.
no way of knowing.
But Android 16 means it is. So that means the Pixel 10 is automatically going to be Vulcan. And every other phone that comes out with Android 16 will be
Yeah.
using Vulcan. So it's things like
Interesting.
that I think are leaps forward for Google, and not leaping forward in the sense of, revolutionary, because Vulcan's been around for a long time now. But it's a leap forward to make it default. Uh, just like I think them uh, using what's it? I can't forgive me if I mispronounce it, but Kotlin for code writing was a brilliant decision because it made it a lot easier, and that was years ago now, uh, for developers to make apps for both Android and iOS. So if they have an iOS Android, they want to port it over, they can use Kotlin and do it in
Well,
moments rather than months.
if this were an Apple event, Vulcan would be revolutionary.
It absolutely would be standout revolutionary, and the only ones using it,
Yeah.
not except for everyone else. Disclaimer: everyone else is using it for years already. Um,
Yeah. Sorry, Apple. It was a little joke.
everybody knows smoking is bad for you, except for all those old people who are 90. Whoa!
Yeah.
What happened?
I
What?
don't know.
What? What happened? Can
You're
you still
covering
hear
your
me?
mouth. I
Are
can
we
hear you
doing this
fine.
again? Oh
Apparently, we're doing this
man.
again.
Oh, this is
It
lovely.
just, but you fixed your phone issue, right? Like where, because it
You know
was,
what? I did, but it doesn't seem to care that I did.
it's,
So,
it cut your camera off again.
oh yeah, it did, and I there is no reason for it.
Wow. Okay. Well, maybe we made Apple mad and they zapped it, even though you have an Android.
Okay.
Well,
Hey, listen,
so
I
yeah,
had to turn it
interesting.
off entirely because I can't actually fix it unless I disconnect the phone entirely. That is the
Interesting.
weirdest thing. It
Okay.
really is. Um,
Well, I'll bring this up while you're working on your phone. I'm going to talk about this stupid Nashville airport situation that we talked about earlier. But so here in Nashville, the local government has been trying to pass a bill to rename BNA to Trump International, and it's been a big uproar. Nobody wants it. It's been turned down twice in our government's meetings, and it's ridiculous. But what made me think of that was there's a Canadian airline, because of this whole Trump Canada business that he's got going on with this back and forth, economic battle, has decided to not fly to Tennessee again. And they only had one route. It's like 18,000 seats. apparently, and the airline says that they're not flying into Tennessee anymore. And I don't know if they fly anywhere else because I didn't have a chance to look up the airline. Lionel is familiar with it, but he doesn't know where they fly. And here's what I find kind of funny, because Ezel, who they were interviewing, said they're not really concerned because they feel like they can get the business back and they can overcome it because of Tennessee's assets. And he says, do you really want to miss seeing the Smoky Mountains? Do you really want to miss getting to go to Graceland? And the Smoky Mountains thing is what kind of caught me. I understand that, Canada doesn't have a Graceland because there's only one Elvis Presley. He only had one, place he lived in Memphis. However, Canada's got bigger mountains than the Smoky Mountains, okay? There's, I'm sure, more magnificent places in Canada that are mountainous than the Smoky Mountains. The Smoky Mountains are actually rather small in comparison to the Rockies, which extend up into Canada. So I was like, I don't really think like you can compare like like the mountains around Vancouver are pretty big, pretty nice. So I just thought that was kind of funny that you're trying to like, don't you want to see the Smoky Mountains? Because let me tell you, people, I've been to the Smoky Mountains a lot, and it's nice, it's beautiful, but it's just not. It's not all that. I've been also to. I used to live in California, so I've seen the Rockies, and those are cool too, right? But yeah, I don't think that the Smoky Mountains is what drawing Canadians to Tennessee. Maybe Dollywood, which is in the Smoky Mountains. Maybe they want to go see Dollywood.
Nashville is what attracts Canadian to Tennessee.
Yeah,
the Smoky Mountains not so much. And honestly, I'll tell you exactly why. I can drive an hour and a half to see almost the exact same scenery as you see in the Smoky Mountains.
Right. That was my point.
It's like there's almost and I don't know. People might argue with this, especially people from the Smoky Mountains. But if you go into some parts of northern New York, northeastern New York, and into Vermont and stuff, it's kind of not that different. I'm talking about in the summer, obviously, not in the winter. Yeah. But it's not that different.
My dad used to live in Asheville, up in mountainous area. Actually. Yeah. The town that they lived in was one of the areas that literally got washed away when all that from Helena or whatever that hurricane that came up and dumped all that water up into the Carolinas and up, through
which one? It happens every few years.
Well, no, this was that one that I'm sure you saw news articles about it. But at any rate, I've been in the Smokies a lot. I mean, I used to go there and visit him all the time. And in addition to just going to, Dollywood and Pigeon Forge and, Gatlinburg, all that's in Smokies. I've been there a ton. And it's beautiful. It's a beautiful country. But it's
for the history, it would be interesting to travel. If you want to go to all those places and see all the things the historical sites. But let's be realistic. There's a ton of places all over the South with historical sites. Because there was a lot of battles in those areas back then.
Yeah, you step south of Mason-Dixon line, and you're basically stepping on Civil War area.
Yeah,
almost everywhere you put your foot.
Listen, this is interesting. I went one year. This is going, I don't know, 15 years ago, 13 years ago, whatever. I was visiting Montreal. I was actually north of Montreal. Well, north of the town that's north of Montreal, because much like living in any metropolis area, there's another town. There's another town north of that. You know what I mean? Right. Anyways, we go by this church, and he says, "Well, let's go check this out." And I said, "It's just a church." I said, it's interesting because it's Quebec, and almost everything in Quebec that looks like it's over 50 years old is probably 400 or 500 years old. Well, 3 or 4 or whatever. Montreal and Quebec City, by the way, the regions have some of the oldest towns and therefore some of the oldest buildings in all of North America. Quebec is actually the oldest town in North America. A lot of Americans don't know that. They think that it's a town
I didn't
in the
know
States,
that.
but it's not true. It's Quebec City. Anyways, yeah, it's like 500 years old or something like that. It's an actual township. But I don't know the exact, so don't quote me. Anyways, so we go to this church and we're still like a half a football field away from it yet, walking down the walkway towards it. And I looked at him and I stopped and I says, "Are those cannonball marks?" And I was kind of half joking. He said, "Yes." Can you guess from what? And I said, "Well, obviously it has to be the War of 1812 if it's cannonball shots." And he said, "Yep." And I said, "So this was a major battle here or just some like minor thing?" He says, "No, this is one of the most major battles." And then he went on and told me the story. I Googled it later and yeah, it was one of the biggest battles of the entire war.
Wow.
I don't, I just heard something that sounded like a duck quacking come from my phone. Anyways, wait, thought I was lying? Anyways. So yeah, there's this is the kind of thing that I'm talking about. We share the same freaking history. We fought the same wars both against each other and with each other. This might sound weird because it's not a great argument in arguing for peace, but technically, in the American Revolutionary War, you were fighting a lot of people that would eventually become the forefathers of what would become Canadians. So, in a sense, we fought each other right from the beginning.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, this whole thing that's going on is just stupid. I don't even have any more words for it. It's not. It's really like. I mean, obviously, there's a lot of poignant things happening, but it's kind of the same old thing. So I just, you know, I don't know. To me, it's not even worth like really spending a whole lot of time on because it.
Well, I don't even. We're not even going to go into that this week because you know it's depressing enough. There's lots of other stuff out there. I'm only going to say one thing. There's propaganda going around claiming that Albertans want to leave and be part of the 51st state. That is absolutely 100% incorrect. Just because they are a conservative voting province does not mean that they don't want to be Canadian. Not at all. So Truth Social is a bunch of liars, and so is everyone else that associates with that. So having said that, let's talk about what happens when I lose my keys. That was the worst segue in the history of podcasting. I know you recognize this. Oops,
I do.
That's shimmery. Well, let's just show the black side of it then. I don't know if it's called MiTag or MiTag.
Me.
It's me. So they did specify that to you when you did your video.
Yes.
Okay. I'm going to give my quick opinion on it. Let's do a little comparison on our thoughts of it because I have always wanted a tracker, but I've never felt that it would do good enough for me because I don't have iOS devices and I don't have a Samsung device. And for years, it was just common that what do you call those? Not iPhone. Well, yeah, iDevices with their iTag things, whatever they're called.
Yeah, the AirTag.
AirTags, yeah. Were just the gold standard, right? But only for iDevices. Well, Samsung came out and said, "Hold my beer," and apparently, according to you and lots of other people, they're at least as good, maybe better, depending on how you use it.
Yeah. I personally, I want to say though, I don't disagree with that. I've never used an AirTag, but the Samsung SmartTag 2 has a lot of the same features that they list for the AirTag, and I can just know by using the SmartTag, it is phenomenal as far as the SmartTag 2 with the ultra wideband. It doesn't compare to any of the others.
I apologize. I should have said Samsung tried their best to match it and did better than anybody else by a long shot. But then the 2 came out and they said, "Hold my beer." So because I'm hearing from a lot of people that it works better than AirTags. Now, I'm also hearing the other way, so there may be some bias in there. That said, we heard great things coming out about Chipotle or Chipotle or Chipotle or whatever the hell.
Chipotle.
Okay. I forgot the name of the other one, the other big name one. Help me out here.
Pebblebee.
Pebble Beach.
Just and kidding. There's MotoTag.
Right. Moto now, when they announced theirs, it was like, oh my God, they're going to have the ultra wideband in theirs, which is useless unless Google turns it on.
It's a hell of
So I was like, oh, that's the one I'm going to want to get. Blah, 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 blah. Right. These guys, what was it, 2 years ago? I think that they introduced it as an AirTag alternative for iDevices. For iOS ecosystem. Last year they started doing a really, really big push, and they started to get pretty popular, and they cost about roughly half the amount as an AirTag, give or take. Could be on sale and be considerably less. Well, in Canadian dollars, I paid $18 for that. I think $20 after tax. In Canada, for this would be at least $13 more for something else on sale that doesn't have an ultra wideband chip in it that I still can't use because Google hasn't turned it on yet.
All right.
But without it, this already does more than any of the other ones that I've seen you and other people review, that it couldn't find your keys in the next room. I've had no problem throwing them under a cushion and walking around the house, outside and back in. And no, I mean, I know where it is, but the point is it still works, and it tells me where to go to a point.
Yeah. It's I was actually I was impressed, and in my video I state that I believe it to be the best Android tracker available because of price point and functionality combined.
Right.
You know, the MotoTag might have a little better build quality. Probably. But there's things about the MotoTag though, like the MotoTag, you like this here has a keyring. MotoTag does not. You have to buy an extra accessory to attach it.
I know you've mentioned that before, where I said it wouldn't bother me, I wouldn't care. But as soon as I opened the box and realized I could put this on and didn't have to buy one, I was like, yeah, I get it. And now I get it.
So that's it there too. And one of the things that I had somebody make a mention to me on one of my videos, I think it was on the MotoTag video. They said that, oh, well, you know, nothing can compete with the AirTag. The AirTag is still superior even to Samsung. And I was like, and their argument was because of the amount of iOS devices
compared to Samsung devices.
So I said, really? I said, let me pull up some stats for you, because up until last year, Samsung sold more devices than Apple. Apple actually has more in play now than Samsung, but by a very, very small margin, right?
Right.
Now, they did bring up a very interesting point, and I understand this point. By default, the iOS automatically tracks the AirTag. You don't have to turn that feature on. In Android, you have to enable your device to be a part of the network. Like, you have to choose to do it. iOS, you don't.
Yes. So let's just assume that people have, though. If they want to buy a tracker, it's not going to work unless you turn the feature on.
Yeah. And
it does like anything else that you can put in the Google Find My Device network. It does have the lost item feature, which means if you mark it as lost, anytime it turns on, it's automatically pinging to say, I'm over here, come and rescue me. So
well, in my last, when I was doing this little research, because I wanted to find out, is that accurate? Yes and no. As of 2024, Samsung says there are over 300 million Samsung devices that are a part of Samsung's Find My network.
Right.
That's a lot of phones / tablets, because it's tablets, phones, everything. Just like the iOS is phones and tablets. So, and I'm sure now 2025 that could even be 400 or 500 million. Who knows?
But listen to this. This is a stat that people need to understand. every single one of those, well, not every single one, but the vast majority of those Samsung phones are now on Google's Find My network.
Yes.
The vast majority of them. If they're newer devices, if they're older devices, they probably weren't using the Samsung Find My network, because a lot of them were bought more recently by people who just like, I'm going to buy a used phone. I need it to last me 3 years.
Right.
And, you know, they're not buying the latest, greatest, and newest stuff. So they're most likely just going to end up on Google's Find My network because they want to be able to find their phone. And they want to do it from their Windows computer or their Mac computer even.
This is my Find My device. This is not Google. This is not Samsung. This is Google's. And you can see all of my Samsung devices are in there.
Yep.
So, you know, now when you take a tag like this one, and this is why I think this is going to be like, especially their Duo. I won't talk about that, but
yeah, we'll get to that.
It's, you have the entire Android ecosystem, whether it's a Samsung, whatever, a Pixel, you name it, right? A nothing phone, a one phone. I mean, yeah, everything. You have that entire ecosystem, and it supports from Android 9 or 10 up. So
that's right.
It's a lot of devices that's going to be able to use as a.
It's in the hundreds of millions of devices, actually.
Yeah.
See, what I want to do is I actually want to give this to a buddy of mine. Next time he's out somewhere and he's got to go here and there, he's got to take his kid to the hospital, get checked up with the doctor, go to work, do some stuff. I'm going to tell him, put this on your key ring. Mm-hmm. And I want to see how many times I can get this thing to ping back to me. Yeah. And where it's been. His entire family is iOS only. So when they're out of the house, when they're out of the house, it's always going to know where the hell it is. When it's in his house, I'll probably only know that it was within the vicinity of my house because he lives across the street. So it'll probably only show last known location, right? But if he's driving a vehicle that has, with somebody else, that has Android Auto activated. And now, by the way, that's the reason why these things will work in a parking lot too. If you're sitting, because you go into a parking lot, you think, well, everybody's parked at the mall, right? And you left it in the car. But there's always some guy who's like only 3 cars away who's just waiting for his wife, or some woman who's sitting there waiting for her boyfriend. So, and they've got Android Auto. Maybe they might have the other one, but there's usually somebody nearby. And of course, you go into a mall, into an airport, on a train, almost anywhere. The devices are everywhere. And I'm not talking about a bunch of trackers, because when people think that, how many of these trackers are there? It's not about this talking to other trackers. Can it? I think they do talk to each other to a point, like they can ping from one to the other, but they need one of these to communicate back. And only one needs to do it if the other one's close. But it's still not going to work that way very well. But it's because there's so many of these guys. You get on the bus, and I guarantee you, half the people, even if half the people have iPhones, the other half have Android.
Yeah, and this device here, unlike some Android trackers, supports location history. Not all trackers support location history. So even if it's not pinging, it'll say, oh, I last saw it here. And you can get on your map, go into that vicinity. And then once you're within an area, then you can start like using that more precise, finder and use the Bluetooth side of things when you get close enough.
Which is what you have to do when you get close enough anyways.
Right.
It'll always only tell you, you're within, like if it's outside sitting in the grass, in your backyard or in a football field or something like that, school football field, not professional. And then you pretty much only need to get within about 20, 30 feet. It'll tell you it's nearby, and you probably won't hear it beep from there. So you continue until it gets big. But if you get close enough in the open, you'll get that full size with the little picture in the middle before you get too close. So you need to start doing the listen part, but make it beep. And I figured that out when I deliberately threw it down on a pile of clothes, and then I went to go do some other stuff. And when I came back towards the room, I wanted to see how close I could get before it would tell me I'm close enough to listen. And I was surprised. I was still about 8 feet away. And I thought, wow, okay, so that's actually a pretty strong signal then.
Yeah, a lot of people said, like, this one guy made a comment, not about this one, but on one of the other videos about, well, I put one in my wife's car and I can't see it driving down the road. I'm like, you're not going to see it driving down the road because it's not an actual GPS antenna. Yeah, no. Like it doesn't have live GPS tracking. It's just a way for you to be able to ping the device. And, I'm guilty of this myself because so many people have called them GPS trackers.
Yeah, that you just
like instinctively say,
they say for pets.
Yeah, but the GPS side of things, when people think about it, is because you can view it on the map and it shows you a GPS location. It's not actually GPS. And somebody called me out on it. Like, these don't have GPS. I'm like, you know what? You're absolutely right. And I clarified that like in another video. Like, these are Bluetooth. And I said the reason why I mentioned GPS is because people equate seeing it on a map to GPS. And so people just instinctively have been calling them GPS trackers. And that's why I did that. But they truly are just Bluetooth trackers. Nobody has a true GPS locator that's live because you can't support the battery. Like the battery.
I was just going to listen. I was just going to say it would have, if you made it this big, not only would it have to be entirely battery with almost no circuitry, but the battery would have to be one of them new dry celled solid state non-existent batteries with zero amount of liquid whatsoever in it, and maybe nuclear powered. But
I was going to say, to my knowledge, they don't make a nuclear reactor that small yet.
It would be dead in an hour. I mean, it would be cool. It would be cool as hell if you could do, but it also would never work in your fucking house because you couldn't put Bluetooth and GPS tracking in something this big. And this, by the way, is massive compared to an AirTag. And when I say massive, it's only a little bit bigger. But when something's that small, 10% smaller, it's a lot smaller. So it's massively bigger.
Well, and think about GPS too. Like I can tell you, like I've been in New York, I've been in other cities where I've had my phone in my hand with visual to the sky, and GPS is like got me spinning in circles. Because all the buildings, it just interrupts the GPS signal.
Well, here's the thing about the way GPS is supposed to be working. So, I mean, if you're in an area where it's doing that to you, that means they have no freaking ground repeaters. And this is what a lot of people don't realize. When they're tracking somebody GPS, unless they're driving down the highway, when they're in the city, at least 40% of that tracking is from ground repeaters. Cities like Nashville, Toronto, Los Angeles, New York have hundreds of ground repeaters, not dozens, hundreds. On some of those cell towers are actually ground repeaters for satellite signals. So they track it exactly the same. So you're getting the same signal, and 3 of them will try to catch you at the same time to triangulate. If the satellite gets you, but the other one doesn't, then the ground repeater does, and you triangulate that way. GPS only works if 3 or more satellites can find you, or 3 or more ground, or any combination of the both.
Yeah, and think about this: when you go into a building, you lose that GPS tracking capability. However, you still have Bluetooth pinging off other Android devices. So you could literally go into a hotel and go to the room where your tracker is located if it's pinging off a device.
Now, just think about when they turn the ultra wideband on, and you'll be able to get all the way to the point where, because by the time they turn that on, you know who live. I'm afraid to say it in case they activate it all of a sudden. You know who live will finally be updated so that you can do all that with the camera and everything. And you'll be able to turn the camera on and go, "Hey man, I lost my keys. Show me exactly where it's telling you it is," and it'll start talking to you and everything. I mean, but ultra wideband is something that doesn't need to be triangulated. By the way, if anybody who's listening has had a couple of drinks this evening and doesn't know why you have to have 3 satellites triangulate something. It's in the word. Triangle. But I'm going to take a lot of flack for that now. Anyways, ultra wideband doesn't need to be triangulated because it is a different type of signal. Thank you. Signal. Maybe you should explain it better than I can. It's very narrow band, extremely narrow band. So if you get slightly off the path of it, it will tell you to go back this way. You can literally guide something. Like, I mean, you could shoot a missile with ultra wide. Okay, don't. But no, seriously. Too much COD, man.
Yeah, I really think that Google is this is one of the things that they're not doing so well. They should have had this already enabled a long time ago.
Of course they should have. I don't know why. There must be some regulatory BS or something. But here's the thing. Ultra wideband was approved almost 2 years ago in Canada. It's already approved for 5 years or more, maybe more than 7 years in the US. So what's the problem? Are they worried it's going to take up too much battery? Why do you give a shit? It's my device. If I want this thing to last only 3 months instead of 6, that's my business. I want ultra wideband. I don't want this thing telling me within 10 feet that it might be nearby. I want to know that I'm exactly 6 inches away and I should turn left to find it.
Yeah, but my Smart Tag 2 batteries are going to last 8, 9, 10 months. So I mean, it's and they use ultra wideband to Samsung devices. So
yeah,
it's not necessarily a power issue. I just think
obviously it's not a regulatory issue either, because as you said, it's Samsung's already using it. That's why it works so well, and that's why it works better for some people in some scenarios than Apple does with Apple devices.
And I think so the S21 and above supports ultra wideband, and I think you and I talked once before, and that the 7 Pro and above has ultra wideband support, or was it 6 Pro? I don't remember.
Not 6.
It's 6 or 7.
Absolutely not 6. It's either
so it'd be
the
7. It'd be 7.
I actually thought it was the 8, but you might be right about the 7, because I remember I think you might be right actually, because I think I remember hearing about it and being like, okay, this is great, but I bet nothing ever comes down the pike that makes it usable. But the 8, I'll be able to use it on what? I still don't know, because I'm already on the 9 and there's still nothing. Give me the 10 and I still won't have anything. I don't understand. You put ultra wideband, but you won't actually turn the network on or give us any products that it can use. And it's a damn shame, because there's so many things you could do with ultra wideband. And I also imagine, because there's so much less interference in that area, would it be possible at all to make earbuds that would use ultra wideband and engineer them so they only work within 3 feet or something like that, and you get like the absolute best quality audio you could ever get wirelessly? Could that be a thing in the future? I imagine your earbuds would only last for about 6 hours, but so what?
I just
pod around.
I just used Gemini AI in Google search, because that's available now, which is really cool. Like, you just type something in, it says dive deeper into this, and you click it and boom, it goes right into AI. The 6 Pro does support ultra wideband.
Wait a minute, dive deeper. What are you talking about?
In Chrome, when you go to do a search and you have the AI enabled.
I'm sorry. I don't want to hear about the stuff that you get just because you got an American flag on your shoulder. I'm not jealous. I'm not jealous. That's
Pixel
a beta
6
thing,
Pro
by
does
the
support
way.
it. Pixel 6 Pro
all right.
does support
So that does clarify that. I am really, really shocked by that, because I swear it said that it didn't. I think it might have been only certain models in America, maybe like the AT&T or something. Possible. Okay, your audio's gone all wonky. Something's happened.
My audio?
Yeah, Oh no, we lost your mic, man.
You can't hear me at all?
Yes, I can. Unfortunately, I'm hearing you from the laptop microphone again. Well, we're having some technical difficulties, folks. Stay with us. We should have one of those things that come up and go, technical difficulties are ours. Please stay tuned.
But it still shows it in here as being on my series.
That's because you're popping in and out. You just came back for a second. I don't know. Wait a minute. Get a little closer to your mic for a second.
How's this? Is this close enough for you?
Well, okay. Well, you got to talk louder when you do that. I need you.
Well, I mean, I'm talking normal. I mean, this is the way I've been talking the entire time.
What I want you to do is kick in. I think what might be happening, it's weird, but it almost seems like, God, I forgot what it's called. What's the matter with me? Let me get into mine here for a second.
Even my Streamlabs has
the
my
noise gate.
Series.
I think your noise gate may be kicking in and screwing you up from Steel Series.
I don't even have noise gate on.
What? Really? You don't use noise gate?
No.
That's interesting.
I think I had it enabled on the desktop, but I haven't.
Can't you disable the mic from your computer to try to fix that issue? See, we're going to go through, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. We're gonna give you a little tutorial right now on how to fix your issues when you have issues with your audio in Windows. So we're going to pass you over to Robert, who you may or may not be able to hear. Robert.
Yeah, I can't help you. I'm sorry.
Well, I'm hearing you now from your good mic.
Okay, that's weird. Yeah, because even in Chrome, it shows my Steel Series as being the mic.
They just cut out again. I don't understand. I think you have a proximity thing when your hand goes near the mic. So it's something going on. We're having some issues.
Well, it's about quitting time anyways. So maybe this is a sign we just wrap it up for the night because I don't know what's going on.
I'm sorry. I'm going to hack and choke. I'm going to say real quick here because I want to say my recommendations about who I think should buy this. If you don't have a Samsung phone, and maybe even if you do, depending on how much you need to use it or how many you need to buy of these things, I do think this is a good idea for anybody with Android. Samsung, you really can't go wrong with buying the Samsung tag if you own Samsung devices. However, if you're an Apple user, this costs less than the AirTag, and it does what you need it to do. Obviously, if you don't have a Samsung, I highly recommend it. $18. So what's your take on it? And then we can get the hell out of here.
I 100% agree. And I'm going to link to the video I did showing where I demonstrated its usage. And ironically, I just want you to know, he found it without even knowing I reviewed it and basically said, hey, this is a great tracker. And I'm like, oh, did you see my review? And then he saw the review. He's like, I had no idea. Yeah. So that just goes to show you that it is a really good device, especially for the entry point. It's probably got the lowest cost of entry of any Bluetooth tracker that I've tested. I've tested literally a handful of them. I got I got like 5 or 6 in my bag that are all different. So
you can link a couple of those down there, including your Amazon link, so people have some place to go with it.
Oh yeah,
to pick it up. So there you go. I think it's a great idea if you're looking to save a couple of bucks, but you want a tracker that's going to definitely work, and it does.
Kids' backpacks, dogs, your backpack, briefcase, purse.
I'm not going to lie to you. If you're going to put this on a dog, you absolutely 100% should buy either the leather case that they sell.
Oh yeah,
or some other one. Maybe a silicone one. I wouldn't. I'd go with a leather one. And there's a reason for that. A dog doesn't need to chew through leather. They might, but if it comes loose and falls off, it might. But you just leave it like this, hanging off a dog's collar, he's going to chew through that. That's it. It's done. Yeah. It's plastic, right? So it costs less money, but it also uses cheaper material. But
and they have specific like holders for pet collars, so you can actually get something that's really specific for pets. So
sometimes shaped like a paw.
Check that out. Yeah.
Just don't be fooled when the video you watch because you want to watch other people doing reviews of it actually call it a GPS tracker, because as we mentioned, it's not.
Yeah.
So, with that said, and I never mentioned this before, but as my name, here says, I am Lionel. I am in Toronto, Canada, and
I am Robert from Nashville, Tennessee, and we will see you guys next week. Peace.